Hi, welcome back. You're joining me in the town of Quartzsite. And you might be going, Quartzsite? What the hell is Quartzsite? Well, Quartzsite is a little town of about 6,000 people in Arizona on the border with California. If you drive from Phoenix to most people, if they've heard of it, will know it as like a gas station, a gas stop on the way from Phoenix to LA. So what am I doing here? I've spoken at a couple of the parks that I visited about hikes that are iconic. And as far as the RV world in the States goes, this town is iconic. It's in the Arizona desert. It's a town of about 6,000, and around December, January, it grows to somewhere around 100,000. It's what are called snowbirds. RV campers from Canada, from the northern parts of the United States who are trying to avoid the winter weather come down here. There's tons of cheap places to camp. If you camp on BLM land, a permit to camp for 6 months is $140, which is nothing. My intention was to camp on that land, which is $30 for up to 14 days, but it's quite a bit warmer than it's supposed to be this time of year. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon now, and it's 32 degrees Celsius, which is about 90 Fahrenheit. And as you might know, RVs are not that well insulated. I would have to basically run the generator the entire time. So just from a cost point of view, it makes no sense. I've come to an RV park, which is fairly cheap, where for just a little bit more I get full hookups with electricity, sewage, water, you name it. They even got a little spa here with a hot tub, which I might use later. So I booked in here for 2 nights, and then we'll see. There's some hiking around here. It's probably going to be early morning hikes because of the heat, and there's some exploring to do. I'm just going for a little walk from the campsite to see what's around here. Everything here revolves around the RV industry, business, RV world. I've walked down the main street about 10 minutes, and I've passed 5 RV resorts. I'm just going to take a look now. This place has a bit of a funky atmosphere, the whole town, and this is like an outdoor market, and just take a walk around, look, see what's going on. So the stuff on sale there was mostly old junk, used stuff, but I did manage to get a packet of disposable gloves, which I use when I handle the sewer, the waste pipe on the RV. It cost me all of 28 US cents for 100 gloves. I'm wondering how good that can be, but hey, how far wrong can you go for 25 cents? So I'm just going to carry on walking a little bit. There are RV repair places, there's RV financing places, you name it. If it's got to do with RVs, you'll find it here. As you probably know, I normally just cut my own hair, but every now and then I'll go to a barber shop just to have it properly cut and neck tidied up and all that. So today, I found this, the Quartzsite Beauty Salon, which is a hairdresser. They also sell firewood and used books, and there's a little hair salon on the side here. So there's a customer in there just getting their hair blow dried, and when they're done, it's going to be my turn. So I'll do that. In the meantime, I'm going to browse through their books for sale, paperbacks for 50 cents and hardbacks for $2. So I'm going to see if I find anything to read. The town of Quartzsite sprang up in the mid-19th century as a result of the American gold rush. There's but some gold found in the area around here, but mainly what they found was quartz, which is where the name Quartzsite comes from. Originally, you had some pioneers and gold miners, etc., coming here, and the local Native Americans were not too happy about this. So in the area, where the town is today, there was a fort set up by a guy by the name of Tyson, no relation to Mike, and it was originally called Fort Tyson. And then towards the end of the 19th century, it started to become a town, and it was renamed Quartzsite. The lady who cut my hair said that the year-round, the permanent population here is actually 3,000, around 3,000, but January, February, it springs to a couple of 100,000. Now, in addition to about 30-something RV parks in the town, where you pay to use, outside of town there is a ton of free camping land, BLM land. And like I said, that's where I was going to stay, but it didn't work out because of the temperature. Who knows, I might spend a few days here to see, depending on how the hiking goes, and if the weather cools down, then I will move out. I've booked the RV park for 2 nights, and then we'll play it by ear. This time of year, there's no shortage of accommodation, so I'm not worried that I'll get stuck. Good morning. It's just after 7 a.m. and I'm about to go on a hike, but before I leave, I wanted you to check out the morning sky as sunrise approaches over the desert here. Quite spectacular. I'm doing a 3-mile hike this morning. I'm doing it early because it's quite a bit hotter than it should be this time of year, and I don't feel like hiking in the heat, but I do feel like hiking, so off I go. So it's now about 7:40. I started the hike about 10 minutes ago, and it's actually quite a walk just to get to the start of this circular loop that I'm doing. And the walk is taking me through some of the dispersed camping or boondocking areas for which is famous here. This area is massive. I drove through it for about 4 miles, and there are hundreds of camper vans here of all shapes and sizes, and all very spread out. I was planning on staying in this area, but the temperature, as I said, is way higher than it normally is this time of year, and it's very expensive for me to run the generator. Obviously you've got your own vehicle and your own generator, you're not paying generator fees. But for me, the difference between staying out here and staying in town was minimal. And they also got the hookups for sewer and fresh water, etc. So I decided to stay there. If the temperature drops, I booked in town for 2 nights. If the temperature drops, I might come out here for 1 night, one area like this. The challenge is that a 3-week camping permit here costs $40. Costs $140 or something for 6 months, but they don't have a daily charge. But we'll see. But yes, see how things go tomorrow. Even though, as I mentioned, I've seen hundreds of caravans already, or campers, this place is nowhere near full. I was speaking to someone at the campground that I'm staying at, and it's in about another month's time this place will be pretty full, and by January it will be jam-packed. At the moment there's still quite a bit of distance between the campers. Really is a nice setting here. You got the mountains in the distance. It's a bit of an unusual hike because I've done one of the 3.5 or 4 miles already, and I'm pretty much walking through the campground. But I mean, it's nice. It's interesting seeing the different the different caravans, RVs, etc. Also, as I walk past them, I can hear a number of them have already got their generators going. So it's about 15 degrees at the moment, and it is nearly 8 o'clock in the morning. It's going to be hot today, but at the moment this is really pleasant weather for hiking. There's not a breath of wind though, and as I think I mentioned earlier in the video, these RVs are not well insulated because they try and save on weight. So when they sit in the sun they bake, and when it's cold they lose heat quickly, especially through the windows. But this at the moment, this is very pleasant for hiking. So now I've got myself pretty much out of the route is taking me out of the area where there are caravans. Well, for the most part. There's one over there still. And really cool path through the desert. Quiet, yet the desert, plants, trees, etc. A really nice view of the mountains in the background. There's another caravan back there. I have no idea how they even get their vans in here. But it's a very different type of a hike, this. But I'm actually really enjoying it. And it's warming up, but it's still pretty cool. So, yeah, it's good. Just after my hike, driving through to get back to the main road, driving through this public camping area, boondocking, dispersed camping, whatever you want to call it. It just goes on forever, and you see such a variety of caravans, from old dilapidated things to spanking new things that cost a couple of $100,000. I think people come here for the quiet. You camp here, you're not on top of other people, and I think that's it. And also, a lot of people come here from the north to get away from the cold. And now that they've opened the border with Canada again, they're expecting a lot of Canadians to come down. In 1855, Jefferson Davis decided to establish a camel corps to help transport things through the west, through the desert here, thinking they'll be more efficient than mules. So they imported a whole bunch of camels from the Middle East, but they needed someone who knew how to work with the camels, how to train people, the soldiers, how to work with them. So they found a Greek guy by the name of Philip Tedrow, who'd actually converted to Islam and was living in Syria. His name was Haji Ali, and he came over here and for many, many years lived here, working with camels. Even after when the Civil War came along and the whole experiment with the camel trains ended, he carried on working here. The Americans couldn't pronounce his name, Haji Ali, so they called him Hi Jolly. And over here, this is his resting place. He was born in Syria. He died in Quartzsite in 1902. He's buried here. This is actually the Quartzsite Cemetery. He was a camel driver, packer, scout, and for over 30 years he served the American government, American military, and this is now on the National Register of Historic Places, his gravesite. And he's quite a legend. He's the local legend, yeah. But it's quite funny that they couldn't pronounce Haji Ali, so they called him Hi Jolly. Yeah, something different. I'm at a place called Celia's Rainbow Garden, recommended to me. Celia was an 8.5-year-old girl, passed away in 95, and her parents built this garden walk-through not exhibit of her, but just to commemorate, because apparently she loved the desert and the colors and the sounds and everything. So I'll take a walk through, see what they have. Apparently people who come here year after year say every time they come here there are new things, there are different things. So should be interesting. It really is a garden as well. It's a place for learning. They got the different plants named. This is, for example, saguaro cactus. This is the big, gigantic cactus that grows here. This one's not so big, but it grows much bigger. Yeah, totem pole cactus. It appears that people can create their own little corners in this park to commemorate their loved ones. I want to stress this is not a cemetery. There's no one buried here. But they're places to sit and just contemplate, and different people have their own little corners here. Some of the little memorials are actually quite artistic. As you walk along here, each little section is different, but they all seem to tie in together, and the overall effect is really something different. It's something special. These are models of houses, etc. Some not in such good condition, from the pioneering days. They were built by a couple, and then after the death of both the couple, the people, they were donated to the garden, and there are volunteers who are working on restoring them, and obviously a work in progress. But these are all hand-built, handmade little replicas of buildings from the pioneer times. I think that one word that can be summed up, that can be used to sum up Quartzsite, is different. Everything here, the lifestyle, the things that people do for relaxation, the pace, the size of it compared to the American towns, it's just different, and it's quite special. I'm not sure I would want to be here when there are 200,000 people, but now it's great. Okay, time to go to another iconic establishment in this place. Adult daycare is what it's known as, and you'll see what I mean in a few minutes. There's one main road in Quartzsite and a couple of crossroads that are asphalt, but as soon as you go any distance from the main road, or you get to unpaved roads. I mean, it's fine, it's in decent condition, although the 1 or 2 days a year when it rains, I'm not sure how much fun that is. Especially because every now and then the road dips as you go through what's called a wash, which is a dry riverbed, like now. Before I get to the adult daycare, I'm going to take a walk around here. This is like a market area. They sell pretty much anything and everything here. So I'll take a bit of a walk around. I'm not looking to buy anything. Just grab a mask from the car, because I don't think they're too fussy about wearing masks here, but I am. So okay, let's go. Lots of individual little stands. Even a place shop up past where you can have signs made if you want. And this is the adult daycare, Beerberry's adult daycare. It is a restaurant, bar restaurant, and it's a little early at the moment, but after the hike I'm fairly hungry. And as I said, this is one of the iconic places in Quartzsite, probably the most famous restaurant. And I'm gonna have lunch. I can't come to a place like this and not have a beer, so I'll have a beer with my hamburger and take another extra tablet when I get back. Cheers. This place is kind of funky. Really cool signs here. 24 hours in a day, 24 beers in a case. Coincidence? And I like that one. Can't see it doing me much good at the moment, but anyway. And you order your food at the caravan there, waiting for my hamburger, and there are lots of tables there. In another month's time, the barman was telling me that people will be lining up outside waiting to come in, and in a little while there's going to be live music starting up there. Just about every travel blog that I watched on YouTube about Quartzsite featured this place, so just had to come. It's worth, I'll take the extra tablet. So this is the type of meal that I really do not allow myself very often, but I think I'm going to enjoy it. I'm visiting the museum here, which used to be a stage stop. It was built in the mid-1800s, and today is one of the few remaining buildings, if not the only one, from that time. It's free admission. You just come and stroll around by yourself. There was kind of a hotel This is what remains here, the far wall. Actually, these inner walls have been rebuilt. What you can see on the far side there is the remains of one of the walls. You can see wooden flooring. Apparently it was pretty crude and not exactly luxurious, but after a long stagecoach ride, I guess any bed was more comfortable. So the same couple that made the miniature homes that you saw in the garden walk made these homes. The husband, the couple came to the area, to Quartzsite from Washington in 1970, and he was an avid rock collector, and he used to use the rocks and stones that he collected to make these little miniature buildings. This one here is actually a replica of the stagecoach house.
I would like to know more about that process, but
so you say this is all equipment that was used to test the sand materials, etc., to see what the chemical composition was,
how much gold was in it, what the purity of the gold was, so that it would help them guide and stay on the vein. And makes one of the things that we think about is the early miner being a guy that's up in the mine and going in mine all day and come out to sleep. But obviously they had that plaque back there on the wall, the frame some of the kids' toys that they found up there.
Ah, okay. This oven, was this kind of typical for the time, the stove?
This is typical from about I'm guessing the 40s on.
And
now they had
1840s.
1940s.
1940s.
Now earlier they had other designs of the same stove, round ones and some, but just the design of the front takes it up a little newer.
And the barrel, would that be for water or whiskey or?
There I don't know what was in that one. It could have been anything from water to, they carry it for water, train.
So the troops who thought they were going to Africa came here to train.
Right. And naturally, when you got idle time, you find things laying around and you kind of put them together, and thus trench work throughout the military kind of, you see some of it in different places, and I think it's kind of neat. That is General Patton up there in the picture.
Right.
Find signs and different munitions and things from General Patton's days. These are just some of the old landmines. The Camel Corps. He did that. He even brought his own rifle. I can't imagine what it was like to fire that rifle back in those days.
Was this a muzzle loader?
Yes. This is one that they called a flash pen. They would muzzle load it, and then there would be powder in that tray right there. The flint would strike, and the powder would burn into the chamber and set the round off. So once you pulled the trigger, you'd have to wait for that burn, and it would take a little bit. It would be quite interesting to do that. To this on the outside. The inside, that's the original doorway to the stage station. This room was the stagecoach office originally. They would bring the stage right in between here and come in here. The stagecoach, when they started contracting the stagecoaches to carry the mail, they would naturally drop it right here to the stagecoach office. So that then the people would come here to get their mail, so it became the post office. So
Okay.
that was,
How about having something like this at home to grind your coffee beans? Ground coffees, not new in those days. The people ordered beans and ground them using this thing when they were ready. Just to give you a sense of scale, that's my hand there. This whole thing is about 2 feet high. This is very cool. They have these boards showing the history, like a timeline, a history of the town. This is the first two, with pictures. And then they look at some of the prominent families here and tell their stories. So it makes it a very individual, a very personal story. So it's pretty awesome. Another thing in this little room here that's really cool, they've created these little scenes with model from the gold mining days here, with incredible attention to detail. And as someone who drinks whiskey, see even there's a miniature bottle of J&B. So this is a very interesting photo. It's taken in 1936 in America, and you might think, why are the teacher and the kids giving a Nazi salute? Well, it's not actually a Nazi salute. It's called a Bellamy salute. And when 30 years after the Civil War, the late 1800s, they came up with the Pledge of Allegiance in the United States to foster patriotism. The author of the pledge, a guy by the name of Bellamy, thought it's kind of awkward if you just people thought it's kind of awkward if you just stand there with your hands at their side, so he came up with this salute. This obviously became very problematic with the rise of Nazism, etc. And in 1942, Congress declared that when you say when American kids or whoever says the Pledge of Allegiance, they should do it with the right hand over their hearts. And that was the end of the Bellamy salute. The visit to the museum took up the entire morning, which was amazing because it's not a very big museum, but there's just so much to see there, and it really was nice having the curator giving me essentially a private tour. This afternoon I'm doing laundry, I'm working on the video for my visit to Quartzsite, and tomorrow morning I'll be off. Quartzsite has been something totally different, and I'm loving my visits to the national parks, etc. This has been such an insight, such a taste of a totally different side of American culture. And it really has been something special. We're not talking about incredible scenery or something, but we're talking about part of American culture, this whole sunbird thing, desert life that generally we have no idea about. So it's been a really rewarding 3 days. Tomorrow I'm getting back to the national parks, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you in my next video. In the meantime, that's it for now. All the best.